tell you something. Andy Stanley says it like this. Andy's one of my favorite, and so much of his wisdom is spoken into my life. He says it this way, that there was once a version of Christianity that once inspired people like you and me to pray heroic prayers. And I would say it like this to you, that there was a version of the Christian faith that was once so real and so bold and so great that because of the people who believed this, that the whole world came to know about the grace of God, the goodness of God, the bigness of God, the greatness of God. The whole world was changed. There was once a version of the Christian faith that was so awe-inspiring that the light of Christ penetrated a dark world that wanted nothing to do with him. That there was once a great, such a version of the Christian faith that was so great and so powerful that it inspired people who literally crucified Jesus to put their hope and trust and faith and fellowship and obedience in him. And let me tell you one more thing. There was once a version of the Christian faith that was so great that it brought the empire of Rome to a close. And let me tell you, in just a few words, where I think this kind of great faith comes from. And this is so simple that you may go, man, Jay, you need to study more. This is so simple that you're going to think it's like anticlimactic, that you're going to think there has to be something more, but I don't really think so. When I look at this kind of great faith that literally changed the world, this kind of power that changes the individual, this kind of power that can change a marriage, that can change a family, that can change a friendship, that can change this kind of power that can change an addiction. When I read about this, it seems to be rooted in one thing. It seems to be driven by one thing. And what Jesus says to us, you ready for this? This is what Jesus says to us. He says, what drove the apostles and what drove Peter and John and what eventually drove this doctor named Luke to put their hope and their trust, to give their entire lives. This is what drove the people of God to change the world. He says it like this. This is what he says. He says, I'll tell you where it's at. This is where it begins. He says, love the Lord your God. It's that simple. You love God with all of your what? With all of your heart, with all of your soul, and all of your mind. And then he says, this is the greatest of all the commandments. You get this whole love thing down. It will change your world. It will change your faith. When you learn to love God more than you love the applause of men, when you learn to love God more than you love your wallet, your career, your prestige, your position, when you learn to love God more than you love your granite countertops, when you learn to love God more than you even love your family. And I love my family. But when you learn to love God like that, there will be the kind of faith in you that will be so great that the onlooking world will lean in a little closer and they'll say, I want some.